Got it.
Hello. And
Hi.
welcome back.
Thanks for welcoming back.
I'm here with my friend Tracy.
I'm here with my friend Amber.
And this is The Road to Tarvalin, a Wheel of Time podcast.
I think those are some of my favorite words every week.
You look forward to hearing it.
I do.
Should we just jump into the Great Hunt?
We're doing the Great Hunt. We're doing the Great Hunt, and I am so excited. I have to say, I am even more looking forward to reading The Great Hunt than The Eye of the World, because I happen to know this is one of your favorite books in the series, and I want to get inside your magnificent mind to find out
head.
Why. Yes, I do. Amber, let me inside your brain. I mean, more than I already am. I guess would be a fair thing to say. But it's almost like the Great Hunt starts and the gloves are off and here we go. And it's just, I have no words.
Chef's kiss. Mwah.
Exactly.
When you get to the Great Hunt, you're kind of just thrown into this prologue, and you're kind of like, okay, like now you hit the ground running. And this is one of the reasons why we decided to start on the prologue and just mainly focus on it today, because you're getting a lot of crazy stuff. And I think it's probably one of the best prologues, just because you're sitting here like, who, what, where, and there's so many questions. And without getting into anything spoilery, I feel like the Great Hunt kind of like sits you down and smacks you in the face, you know? And the prologue is where it starts.
Yeah. So all that said,
should
we dig into it? Did you like my hand gesture that went
sure.
along with that? I don't really know what that was, but
A little shimmy.
I'm excited.
Starting with the Karaethon Cycle.
Yeah. I am actually really excited that we're digging into this, because I have a tendency, like, when I'm reading
Skip it.
this, just totally skip it. Like,
Wah.
I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on. And so I'm like, flip to the prologue super fast and go past this.
But we're not going to skip it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to say what we like, or maybe what we don't like is probably a better answer. The beginning of the excerpt starts, "And it shall come to pass that what men made shall be shattered, and the shadow shall lie across the pattern of the age, and the Dark One shall once more lay his hand upon the world of men. Women shall weep, and men quail, as the nations of the earth are rent like rotting cloth. Neither shall anything stand nor abide."
Yet one shall be born to face the shadow, born once more as was born before, and shall be born again, time without end. The dragon shall be reborn, and there shall be wailing and gnashing of teeth at his rebirth. In sackcloth and ashes shall he clothe the people, and he shall break the world again by his coming, tearing apart all ties that bind. Like the unfettered dawn shall he blind us and burn us, yet shall the dragon reborn confront the shadow at the last battle, and his blood shall give us the light. Let tears flow, O ye people of the world, weep for your salvation.
I don't want to weep for my salvation.
This sounds awful. Regardless of which side wins, this all sounds like terrible.
It's very Book of Revelations. Very doom and gloom.
I think the most bothersome thing about the prophecies from the Karaethon Cycle is there's doom and gloom in both directions, and no promise that one thing is going to work out over another. If the Dark One takes power, things will suck for everyone. If the Dragon Reborn takes power, it will suck for everyone. So where's the incentive in this? Where's the hope in this? Like, hooray, sackcloth and ashes? I think that passing the Karaethon Cycle, like you, it was just an instant reaction. It was too relatable to my past, and I just skipped over it, and I was like, who's this dude named Bors? So
So should we get into this dude named Boris?
we absolutely should. We should. I'm excited. Did you like that? Was that a good transition
Yeah.
for you?
My very first line is, so we've got a guy named Boris. He's observing his surroundings. He's been invited into this big room that appears to look like a bad imitation of a palace. Like there's some things that like checks the boxes, but other
Right.
things where it just doesn't work.
I love that
And
observation.
yeah, and he's with about 100 other, can I say shadow pals? Because I like that better
I
than
think
dark
we have
friends.
to. I
And
think
this
we
is
have to.
and this is something that I found out. I've never liked the word dark friends anyways. I think it's dumb. Um,
You want to tell
so,
us how you feel about that?
yeah, I think it's stupid.
Me
It's
too.
the leaf cast guys is where I heard it first. So
So they
I'm
are.
not taking credit for it.
Okay. I think
But
it's brilliant. Whoever
this
started it. Love
it's
it.
this gathering of shadow pals, and it's kind of like the worst costume party ever. Everyone's got like these black outfits on and black masks, and Boris is wearing, I think, a silk black mask. And everyone seems to be kind of sizing each other up through their
Yeah.
disguises. Boris is feeling pretty smug that he's been invited to this great gathering with only 100 other people, and I think
Sorry.
everyone else thinks that like, oh, I'm so important because I'm here. The Dark One is gonna like me more than this other shadow pal who sucks. Like,
This is like a networking opportunity gone wrong.
like they
Or,
didn't
like,
have their
the
business
reverse.
cards. Like,
Yeah, like you go because you're the best of the best, but you don't talk to anybody about how you become that, which is just totally the opposite of a networking kind of group, but it's what it makes me think of if it were like Shadowpal based.
we get this description of the serving men and women who are kind of coming along carrying trays and serving drinks, and they are described as hauntingly beautiful and graceful and having these androgynous characteristics. And they all look like the same person despite being male and female, but they have these dead vapid eyes. And when I was reading this, I know because we did a Shadows Fun episode that as I'm reading it, I'm like, yes, it's the Zomara. So these are a type of shadow spawn. And I'm going to do like a little mini 101 because I think these ones are just so creepy because of how perverse it would have been to create them.
So cringy.
So they were created during the Age of Legends and can seemingly like read people's thoughts, and they're not very intelligent, and they forget pretty much all the information they're given pretty much like immediately afterwards.
Yeah.
So you got this little bit of time span and then everything's gone.
Yeah.
And they are most likely one of the products of Agonor's more perverse human experiments. I know that even some of the Forsaken don't like having them around because they're so unsettling. And when I'm trying to think of like what Agonor would have done to create these humanoid-like creatures that came from humans that don't retain any memories just to be used as like the perfect serving things because they can never tell your secrets to anyone because they won't remember. It's like an everlasting compulsion kind of. There's nothing inside.
And they don't age. Like
They're-
don't they stay looking kind of like almost pre-pubescent even?
I think so.
That's another like addition to that level of
Creepiness.
yes, yeah, to like stop them at a specific age, remove their ability for memory, give them weird telepathic powers. Like what? Do you think Agonor had like a checklist when he was making things? Or did he just like throw it all at a wall and hope for the best?
Agenor is definitely, I think it was more of like a throw everything at the wall and see what sticks.
Yeah.
But it's gross, and Agenor is deeply disturbing, and I think that he had fun doing it, so it was like, oh, let's see what we can whip up next.
Yeah.
Bors is served a drink, but he only pretends to drink it because he's not really trusting that someone's out to, possibly poison him. He can't be too sure. He's seeing many different nationalities. We see an Ilianer woman, a swan-necked royal woman from Ered Doman, a Shinaran warrior, even a tinker. So he also sees a High Lord from Tyr, an Andoran Queensguard, a Sea Folk man, and even an Aes Sedai. I believe it's 2 Aes Sedai. So a bell rings, some doors open, and Trollocs enter, and everyone takes a step back because Trollocs are disgusting. And then the Trollocs take a step back and like cringe and bow and scrape because a Myrddraal has now entered. And the Myrddraal is described as a smooth, white, eyeless face, like a maggot, its voice like dry snakeskin crumbling. And the Myrddraal says, your master comes. So then a man appears floating in the air, and Bors thinks, is it the Dark One? Is it possibly a Forsaken? And he is told to rise, and then we learn that it is actually Baalzamon, and he is speaking to Bors telepathically.
This floating figure tells them they shall know him as Baalzamon. Apparently, in the Trolloc tongue, it meant heart of the dark, and even unbelievers knew it was the Trolloc name for the great lord of the dark. And he also comments that it is not like the most forbidden name for the Dark One, but it is still a forbidden name.
So is it something that's just internal? Like, don't say it because like it's weird and it feels wrong, it's a faux pas? Or is it actually like you're not allowed to do it because the Dark One will grab you through your dream and smack you around?
Yeah, like is there an actual repercussion for that happening?
Yeah.
And that's what I wonder. Like, why is this a forbidden?
Lots of nightmares, maybe.
Headaches, nausea. It comes with a list of side effects, like your prescriptions do. Shaitan. Side effects may include. We have this announcement that we are now dealing with Baalzamon, and this is actually really great because this is the quote that came
That
in.
sounds like a self-help book.
What?
Dealing with Baalzamon.
It's on the New York Times bestsellers list. Yeah. So this actually is from the quote that our good buddy Snakes and Foxes did for us at the beginning, where
it was so good.
It was
Thank
so
you.
good. Beautifully recorded. Everything about it was absolutely perfect. And now I don't have to read it because you already did it for me. Thank you. So what really catches me is the end of this. And we kind of touched on this earlier, like the whole, and those who serve me will like be rewarded. They will have riches. And of course we were both like, amen, at the end of it.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things that really hits me about
in his name we praise.
Baalzamon. For this one, there seems to be like a liturgy almost associated with being a dark friend, of being bound to the Dark One, that doesn't seem to also happen in, I suppose, what would be classified as the followers of the light. Like everyone seems to have their favorite catchphrases, but there doesn't really seem to be any places of worship or gathering. And even though these Shadowpals are not going to be looking out for each other anytime soon, it is still a gathering that gets referred to as brothers and sisters. And I think that is also interesting. Like, what is your idea of family if you're referring to them as brothers and sisters?
Could say the same thing about the White Tower, though, with Mother.
That's true. That is true. That is true. Yeah. So, like, there are just some places where
the White Cloak says, son? What does the White Cloak say? What do the White Cloaks say? child. It's always child Bornhold, child so-and-so.
Yeah, which is interesting. Doesn't that kind of infantilize your soldiers and make them feel...
Who's a good boy?
You're a good white cloak. Yes, you are. That was necessary. I think you had said it already, that like there's the figure of the three young men that is like just kind of holographically hanging in the room. Mm-hmm. And Bors is trying to kind of figure out who these three young men are. And he's noticing that the Murdral that's entered is staring at them and trembling with hate as opposed to fear, which was what he had been trembling with before. Balsamon drops the announcement of the night. The dragon walks the world again. Right?
I mean, are we safe now to talk about this since we're in the Great Hunt? Like, there's no question who the Dragon Reborn is anymore.
I think
like,
it's
can
pretty
we just
safe.
Get that?
Yeah.
Okay, can we just get that out of the way?
For anyone who doesn't know,
Rand is
the Dragon Reborn. Mm-hmm. Although Balsamon does not indicate that is the case. He just says it. And of course, this is a reaction-causing statement, and the Shayanaran warrior that Bors noticed earlier is like, shall we kill him? And like he's reaching for his sword that he would normally have there, but it's of course not there. Balsamon somehow manages to cut off all sound in the room, and Bors sees that one person is being lifted and held in place and appears to be responding to someone who's talking to them. And Bors realizes that they will all be given instructions, but they will be given to each person individually. So no one will know who is getting what instructions and what they're supposed to be doing. And when it becomes Bors's turn, Balsamon's like first question is whether or not Bors is faithful. And I think this is really interesting because Bors responds that he is, and then he says it again to himself. And there's an emphasis on it. I am faithful. I swear it. So it's almost like he's reaffirming it to himself. And one of the things that I think this indicates, and I find it telling of the character itself, is he's not necessarily in this because he's all for Balsamon being in the number one position. He's out there for himself. And so this says a lot about who this character is, even though they are like super mysterious at this point, you know?
Yeah.
Balsamon gives Bors some cryptic orders and takes him on a non-consensual trip through a flash of images and sensation that feels a bit dizzying. And I'm sure that's how it's supposed to feel. At the end of this, Bors is led away by a doll zombie to the room where he had prepared for this gathering of brothers and sisters, quote unquote. His bags have not been touched, and he pulls out, dun dun dun,
dun da da,
a white cloak uniform, his uniform. And even better, he's got the symbol of a questioner on it. So are we surprised that this like power hungry, all for himself kind of dude is a questioner, is a member of the Children of the Light? I love that it gets left for like the last moment, and that he tells you, like, you don't know who the character is, but you now have an idea of where they are and where they're headed. And this gets me so ready. Like, we have left behind happy, cozy, hanging out in Emmons Field, and this is real world, hard shit, Wheel of Time goodness. I love it. I love it so much.
I didn't have anything else to add for the spoiler-free section.
I don't either.
But before we get to spoilers, I did want to say special thanks to Dirk, our new innkeeper of the Three Candles Inn.
Welcome.
Thank you. And I love your name for your inn.
I think
it sounds cozy.
It does. That's what I thought too. I was like, oh, I like that. If there's any particular reason why you chose that name, I would love to know.
Yeah, if you tell us, maybe Well, if it's not private,
right? Yeah,
why it would be, but if it's not,
yeah,
we'll talk about it.
yeah. I love a good story, obviously. Obviously, yeah. And thanks to all of our other patrons as well. We really, really, really appreciate you guys.
Indeed.